Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shiggles. I'm that guy Rickster.
Hi, Darren here, guys.
You sound sleepy. What's going on? Just woke up.
Yes, every Saturday around this time, I take my end of the week nap.
Your cat nap?
To be honest, it would have been 3, 4 hours, but you always you always take forever to come online, and then I'm just like,
Well, I have work, and I have to come home from work to do this.
anybody care about that, to be honest. But
You know this.
anyways,
But yeah, how was your week?
oh my god, this week was a shit show. Work was just, I
Mm,
don't know, just a lot of things happened. It was just like,
yeah.
uh, but anyways, how was your week?
Okay, my week was good.
You know,
It
I'm never
wasn't as
gonna
bad
ask
as
you this
last
question
week.
again. It's just like I don't know.
It wasn't as bad as last week. I will say this week was better. Emotionally, I'm no longer in the sunken place, so that's good. So yeah, looking up, moving forward as
That's
we
what
do.
matters, to be honest.
Exactly.
That is what matters, to be honest.
So ready to get into
Anyways,
the topic?
I mean, you have something else to get into,
Not really, no.
but yeah, I mean, that's why we're on, right? Um,
Yeah. So tell the
mm.
people what we're talking about today, then.
Why you can't tell the people every week for the
Because
last
every
couple of
week
weeks?
I
I
do
have
that.
been.
I no no no. Every week I've started the whole thing.
Last week
I'm
you
the one who
didn't.
like
The week with Stan Culture you didn't. Friendships and
no, no.
community you
I
didn't.
started
Cheating
stan
you
culture
didn't.
and I literally said, I don't know much about stan culture. So you're going to take this one. So I hand it off to you. But anywho, since you want to be every week, I'm the one who do it. This week, guys, we're going to be talking about, even though I wasn't the one who wrote the topic, some other
It
person
doesn't
did.
matter who writes the topic. It does not matter.
Anywho,
But anyways,
this
so this
week
week, guys, we're gonna talk
we
about
are talking
STIs
about
and STDs. The use
yes,
of PrEP, doxy all of that. So
oh, you
let's get
bitch.
into it.
When I was growing up, I do remember because my mom she worked in the STD STI department at one point. But I remember specifically when this whole thing started, they were specifically just called STDs. Then at some point it switched to STIs. And I always wondered what was the difference. But there isn't really a difference. It's just that one is sexually transmitted infections, and from what I was reading, they're saying that the reason why people stopped saying STDs, which is sexually transmitted diseases, is because infections didn't sound as drastic as disease,
But
which
I
is basically
also
the same.
think, in a sense, but I also think the difference is that infections or like the bacterias, the curable ones,
Hmm.
while these are more the
The ones that you
incurable
cannot
ones.
cure at
So
all.
it's like
But
it's almost like you have diabetes then. So you know there's no cure for diabetes, so it's always going to be a disease that you have.
yeah.
So I think that's the difference between the two based on what I remember.
But then some of these
Um
infections can also eventually develop into diseases. So is
Untreated.
it, yeah,
Yes.
so is it at that point that they start calling it an STD and no longer an STI?
Something like that.
Yeah, I
Something
guess.
like that. Something like that.
But
But
what was on your spirit though? Why you pitched this topic?
because it's something that I've been exposed to a lot in terms of like, when I'm on social media, like
Mm-hmm.
conversations that are to be had
Yeah.
with like sexual partners, a person you're probably going to be entering like a new relationship with, all of that. Um, and I say this to say is that a lot of people are still scared to death um, of catching an STI and an STD or STD because when knowledge of these things just came about and all of that, especially like HIV and AIDS, there was a lot of fear mongering, and rightfully
And
so, because
stigma.
at the time, yeah, rightfully so, because at the time when like the outbreak and stuff like that in the 90s, there wasn't really any treatment for it to prolong people's life or to prevent it or all of that.
Or they didn't really know what
So
it was.
what it was, that has lasted um up until today, but you have more I realize you have more open-minded people now and
Mm-hmm.
it all comes down to not just education, because a lot of people are educated and they know the facts, but they're still very
Scared.
ignorant and all of that to it. But over the years, like people have shared with me, oh, I got an STI from so and so. My partner cheated. I got an STI. I've also had a friend who used to work in the medical field when it comes to STI, STDs, and like I've known people over the years who's had like HIV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, to me, it's not a big deal, and since I've moved here, I've realized that there's many options, and people think about it way differently here than back home.
Yep.
For most people, for the most part, it's not a big deal. And that's because like today now you have there's knowledge that people who are HIV positive, they can't pass
It's no
the
longer
virus
the
on
death
the
sentence
death
that it used to
sentence that
be.
so people are no longer able like to pass the virus on once they are like undetectable. They've been on their medication and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So and for people who don't know, undetectable basically means that whenever they do like a full lab report, like the virus is so few is that it's hard to count the
Yeah.
amount. So you cannot, that person cannot pass it on to anyone who they have unprotected sex with. But
But
that's if they are maintaining the
I
medication that they're on.
remember a few years ago, um, I don't know if this trend was still going on, but I remember a few years ago, was it on Twitter that I saw it? There was this, it was on Tumblr at the time. There was this whole thing going on with people who they call themselves pause, where their whole thing is they intentionally get infected with HIV because, yes, because they are so scared that it's going to happen. Yeah, it's at some point, so they just do it because they're like, it's going to happen anyway, so might as well just get it out of the way. It was I was back when I was in high school. No, like my first or second year in university when I saw this whole thing and was like, this sounds crazy.
Crazy.
But it was like a whole
It
thing,
sounds
like message boards. I don't even know how I ended up on that side of Tumblr that
some
day.
rabbit hole, child.
Right? Like some rabbit hole, but it's like whole message boards of people who their whole thing is trying to find someone who is positive to infect them because they're like, I'm going to catch it anyway, so might as well I just do it on my own terms.
That's crazy, but I
Yeah.
mean, I understand to some extent, like a little extent, because especially like in the gay community, people know the activities that they be getting into. Like people
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of like hooking up, like going to orgies, like these are the things. And it's like the more sexually active you are with more people, it's the higher your risk or your chance of catching like an ST or an STD
Yeah.
is. Not saying that you can be with one person and that it's just with that one person that you got it.
True.
Um but the thing is that like today, so I've been hearing about PrEP maybe like 3 or 4
For the
years
last
now.
couple years now, yeah.
I never knew what it was until I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Because right here everybody's on PrEP. It's like you have a conversation with someone, you're like, okay, so what's your STI, STD history like? And you're like, oh, I'm negative, I'm on PrEP.
But that conversation is something that people still find it weird to have, where
Which
they
it shouldn't
discuss
be, because
their status is.
exactly, because you're gonna have sex with this person,
They
so
might as well you let them know.
you might as well. And with the culture here is mainly unprotected sex. Like
Yeah.
people want to people want to
Like
fuck raw. So
I've heard a lot of people saying that they don't like how it feels to have sex with a condom on, and so they prefer to have raw sex. And I'm just, to me, I guess it's because of the culture we grew up in.
Yeah.
And like hearing it, we're like, no.
And
But
to
I
be
will
honest,
say that I have done it a few times.
I mean, of course we all have.
Yeah.
Like, let's not lie here.
But I'm honestly going to say that I don't really notice a difference. I don't know about you, but I don't really notice a difference.
Not well. I kind of do. For certain things that I probably won't get into.
You don't have to.
But but yeah, I do feel a slight difference. To be honest, but the whole prep thing is a huge thing here, and like. If you don't know about it, or if you're not already on it, like I would advise to get on it, because like it literally prevents you from getting HIV, especially if you're someone that's scared to death
Does
about
it prevent it, or is it that it limits the chances of getting it?
They say it's like 99%, so it's more.
So there's still a chance.
There's still a chance, but like it's such a slim chance. It's just like, why would you have to be the unlucky one for that to happen to?
And Puss and Dog have the same luck.
Well, that's true. Well, that's
exactly.
True. But the big thing that when this just came about, I used to hear people talking about, is that it prevents HIV, right? Which is what people are most scared about, because there's no way to treat or get rid of it.
Yes.
Right? But it's like people never really cared about other STIs and shit like that,
because they could just go and get an injection or a pill
and just get an injection. Especially the gays here, they can just go get an injection or something.
I think it's gonorrhea is the one.
Yeah,
you go on a treatment plan for a few, for like a month or something, and it's gone.
And that's it. But
syphilis is the other chlamydia.
But no,
the clap.
You have something called doxypep or doxycycline. And when I just moved here, I knew about PrEP, but I didn't know this one.
So I knew about PrEP as well. I found out about the doxycycline thing today when you told me about it.
You should get it as well.
Yeah.
So when I found out about it, it's through my friend talking about, sex parties and stuff like that. I was like, oh, they probably have their PrEP and their doxypep at the door. And I'm like, doxy what? So then he was explaining that it's basically like a morning after pill for STI. That's basically it. It works the same way like a morning after. Of course, not 100% effective, but they closer to, I guess, to the encounter or the risky activity. Like it's the better for you, which basically prevents syphilis.
That one is like
gonorrhea.
A pill. They said it's like 100 milligrams. You shouldn't take more than 200 in 24 hours. I read. But also, this one is like a pill that you just take. Meanwhile, PrEP is like a whole treatment plan. So this is just a pill.
But that one, you gotta take it twice for the day. I know because I recently got it. Because I said to myself, why not just get it just in case? Because just preventing like getting HIV or stuff like that, it's also important to protect against, other STIs as well.
True.
Like you don't have to be ushered into a clinic because you got some rash or some discharge or some shit like that. But it's amazing to see how far science and medicine has come, like a long way, because especially us being millennials, we grew up, like we were born in the time where it was such a taboo and
where they said
stigma and all of that.
Be a cure for it.
Never be a cure, never catch it, And it's like now we have all these options, outside of condoms. So we have options now for people who either allergic to condoms or all of them things that they be saying, which is good.
In no way are we saying guys to stop using condoms. We're not saying
it should be a choice, your personal choice, or
to do it.
I guess like if your partner or whatever the case.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that these options are out there. There's no shame in, go getting your PrEP, go getting your doxypep, and if you never know about doxypep, like
Oh, and there's
It's
also
available
PEP.
as well. So
There's PrEP, DoxyPrep, and then PEP. So I
I do
think
not know what the other one
so.
is for.
From what I was reading today, apparently the PrEP is the pre, and then PEP is post.
Post.
Yes.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So one is for after the risky activities, or maybe
So
the person
I
comes to
have
you and be
it
like, "Hey, you
here.
know, I have HIV." Da, 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 da.
So apparently PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, and then
Yeah,
PEP is
post
post-exposure
exposure.
prophylaxis. My tongue got tied on that word, so for some reason. So I'm assuming that one you take it after you've
After,
been exposed.
just like the
Yeah.
doxy pep, where it's
But just
after
like the
thing.
PrEP,
Yeah.
this one is a treatment that you go on.
So it's, again, this is so interesting. To see that.
So what I'm reading here, it says only in emergency situations within 72 hours of possible HIV exposure. A full treatment course lasts for 28 days. So it's a treatment. Yeah. Meanwhile,
I
the
guess
PrEP,
maybe it's like an antibiotic or something to ensure that you constantly take over time to ensure that you don't get it. Like, I
yeah, for
have to do some
28
more
days.
reading into that. Yeah, because 28 days is like a whole month.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the PrEP, they're saying PrEP takes at least 7 days to reach high levels of HIV protection. So you have to be
Oh,
taking it
so
for
it's
like 7
something,
days
which is
consistently.
what I always tell people. Stop saying, "Oh, if you know you having, sex and shit like that." Stop saying, "Oh, I took my prep pill today," but then you weren't on it for the last 2 weeks. Because what I've learned about drugs, especially drugs that you have to take over time, is that, as that article says, like, it builds, the amount in your body builds up over time.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you just took one this morning, it hasn't probably even reached the level that it's
It
supposed to
hasn't
be at to give you the
cycled as
full.
yet.
It hasn't cycled as yet. So saying, "Oh, I took it this morning," da 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 da, it's just like, okay, all right.
But you made a good point. A lot of the dolls nowadays.
Not the dots.
Well, let me not say that because
The
anyway.
trans community gonna come for you, be like, "Are you a doll?"
Yeah, we're not talking about the dolls. We're just saying in
Ridiculous.
general. No, a lot of guys, and I can only speak for the gay community, and I have no idea what the straights are up to over there. But a lot of guys I've heard, even if it's online, friends even saying how they're on prep so they don't have to use condoms or something like that. But just as you said, it's not something that just works immediately as you take it. You have to be on it for a while for it to really have an effect to prevent. So you can't just like take it this morning for the first time and just go be raw dogging all day and expect not to catch anything.
Not all day.
That makes no sense.
I mean, to each their own, to be honest. But
Yeah,
as I said, like, it's great that we have all of these options to ensure that we maintain, like, our good, like, sexual health and stuff like that.
yeah,
And also, no discrimination to anyone if you've ever, like, gotten an STI or an STD if you're positive, because, to be
absolutely
honest,
not.
things happen, and sometimes things happen, like, within, like, the heat of the moment.
Yeah,
You also can randomly get this from your partner, like, you're faithful to your partner is unfaithful. There's, like, a lot of things,
a
and
lot of
I
factors.
also wish people would stop being so heavily judgmental. It happens. It
Yeah.
really happens, to be honest. I think we just need to be honest with each other, prior to and after all of them things.
And
All of them
also
things.
because I've had friends who have told me that they've had hookups, right? And it was after the hookup, the person is going to let them know, oh, I'm positive. I think that's something you should have said before, right? Let me get the
Let me play devil's advocate.
but at least
So
give me the choice to decide if I want to have sex with you or not.
I get the sentiment, but I also think, let me play devil's advocate, because I've known people, like, specifically known people who are positive.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have an understanding of their mindset towards things like that. it is not the easiest thing. I don't think it would be the easiest thing for me to say, hey Rick, you know I'm positive. So if this is like a, say like a random person like you just meet or whatever the case it may be, I can see from the person's perspective that yes, it's the right thing to do, and we're not pushing this to the side. But you have to also think that, you know, this person might just be struggling with disclosing to people. And I know in some states or some shit like that, it's illegal to not do so, but I also understand their perspective to some extent.
So I do understand what you're saying, and I do get that as well. But my thing is, why is it that is right after we have sex? That's when you're going to say it. So clearly you weren't struggling to disclose because you told me immediately after we have sex. That's what I'm saying. Because
no, I can see.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, and I do know it's a very hard discussion to have, because I've always like put myself in the position of like, if I should find out, I don't know how I would take the news. For one, I don't necessarily know how I would handle it. As you said, like, there's so many options out there. It's no longer a death sentence, but the mind plays tricks on you, and you immediately start
and we
thinking
need
the
to
worst.
be stronger than our mind sometime, because even keeping with this conversation, like, you also have the post exposure, so like, no need to
but
panic.
The thing is, you know, that's
you go to
the thing,
the doctor,
you go into panic mode
happens
immediately when you find out. Some people,
and we need to stop going
into
panic mode.
So I get not struggling with like telling people, because you know there's still the stigma around it and people still want to like shun you and stuff like that. I get that, because I also do know people who are positive, and to me it's like nothing really has changed.
Yeah, because it's almost right? Like the person is be like, "Oh, I'm diabetic." I'm like, okay.
But what I take umbrage with what I just said immediately after we have sex. You're going to say to me, "Oh, I'm positive." Sir,
I think for me, the first question I would ask is,
why didn't you tell me before?
Again, let me play devil's advocate. I think because not really devil's advocate, but this is how I approach situations in life in general.
Yeah.
We already had sex already. You're positive. I just found this information out. Trying to ask you why you're just telling me is not going to solve anything. The first question I'm going to ask is, okay, all right. Are you on medication? Have you been on medication? Those questions are more important to me because those questions are going to help my situation right now.
True.
The why you didn't tell me is already through the gate because you didn't tell me already. We done had sex already. We done did the do. Me trying to find out why you didn't tell me is not gonna fix anything. So I'm gonna try to find out like, hey, are you on medication? Then we go from there. All right, you're not on medication. Then means that I need to blaze my ass to the clinic, the doctor, blah blah blah, get myself on PrEP.
Doxy prep.
Right. No, not for HIV. For you would have already had been on PrEP. So if I wasn't on PrEP, I'm gonna blaze my ass to the doctor and get my ass on the post exposure for 28 days. That's more important to me than finding out why you didn't tell me. You don't never tell me already. So me trying to pang around the place, that's not gonna help the situation at all.
Yeah.
After I've dealt with the situation now, then we can have a conversation. Which leads to the question that I want to ask. Mm-hmm. Which is a very controversial one, and it comes up all the time on social media. Well, when I say social media, on Twitter. Because Twitter is where people actually ask questions, people answer, you see different answers, you see different opinions. Would you sleep with someone who is HIV positive, or would you be in a relationship with someone who's HIV positive?
The younger me would say no. The younger me would have said no, honestly. Especially not knowing what I know today. Honestly, I've had this question asked before, and my answer back then was no. But now, being more mature and knowing what I know, honestly, I would. I honestly would date somebody who is HIV positive, as long as you are taking the steps to keep yourself healthy and you're not just recklessly running around and not taking care of yourself, then yeah, I would.
Which is basically the borderline to it, to be honest. Because this is one of the things I tell people. A lot of times, we might have. That person
And we
didn't
just don't
disclose.
know.
We just didn't know. That person probably didn't disclose some whatever the case it may be. Which is why ensuring that you're up to date with your own sexual health. You do your regular checkups, because that's another thing. We don't go to the doctor unless we feel sick. And I wish people would stop doing this. If you're sexually active with, say you're single, you have a couple fuck buddies who might have other fuck buddies. Every 3 months, 6 months, you go get your test, you go get your checkup, da da da. You're in situations like this, you take your pre-exposure, your post-exposure, depending on whatever the situation may be, and help protect yourself, because a lot of the times you don't know. And sometimes outside of STDs, sometimes people have gonorrhea, chlamydia, they don't know.
And that's the thing, a lot
because
of people
not all the time it
infections,
shows
but they don't
symptoms.
know.
So they don't know. So
Yeah.
it's best to keep up to date with your.
But to ask you the same question, would you sleep with someone?
I would.
Okay.
Like, I'm not some ignorant, and I think. I think if you asked me this question 10 years ago, the answer probably would have been the same.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, like, I had a friend who worked around people like that, so I was exposed to information and all of that. The only thing I would say I wasn't exposed to is the whole U plus U, which is the undetectable equals untransmissible, because that's more like a thing that scientists or the medical society discovered like maybe 6-7 years ago, because it wasn't always like that. So,
but
the answer probably would have been the same.
Things have changed. They have grown, like technology, studies, stuff like that. But the reason why my answer would have been known when I was younger is because of my mother. That woman scared me. Remember, I told you she used to work in that department. And when I started high school, this lady sat me down and she had the posters for all the infections and diseases and everything that it can cause to your body, and she scared the shit out of me to not have.
And that's one of the things I hate. I hate it so much, and not just with this entire topic. People who should be educated sometimes can, or people who are educated sometimes can be the most ignorant, and I don't understand it, because if you have any type of intellect and you have the information presented right in front of you, I don't get why this fear mongering and all of that is still necessary.
She scared me.
Like, it's crazy to me that you have all the tools right in front of you. You have all the information right in front of you in comparison to other, like, the average person, but you still spread like all these, what's the word? But you basically fear other people, and even with the pandemic, you saw it a lot with doctors who should have all the facts, also scaring people and assisting in the fear mongering. And I'm like, it's always so disheartening to see. It's terrible to see. It is terrible.
I had to unlearn a lot of that trauma that happened on that day.
And it comes with our society too, because a lot of times I think about ways I used to think or act. I remember that my country's people's mindset is very ignorant. And you will see this from the uneducated to the most educated person.
That is true.
Back and it's something that I've had to,
But before we wrap up, I wanted to say, so there's this show I watched a few years ago. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it to you. It has to do with the outbreak of the HIV and AIDS crisis in the UK in the 1980s. This is when it was just coming out. Nobody knew what it was. It's on HBO, and I would recommend people watch it, because you got to learn a lot of because most of what we know about the HIV uprise was from like this side of the world, America,
Yeah, especially the
Jamaica, where we
US.
grew up, the US. But I didn't know how it was in the UK. And watching that, I learned so much. It's called It's a Sin. That's the name of the show.
I think I
And
watched that show. I think
honestly,
I watched it.
it's one of the it starts off so good. It's a really well done production. The actors, they play their parts very well. But when I say that shit, what it had me in tears. By the end of it, I was crying like a baby.
And a lot of the shows
But it was so good.
centered around gay people, and that I even like later shows and series like they Hollywood just make it still much of a taboo thing. Stop it.
Yeah.
At the end, this person don't need to catch HIV and whatever, and this person think their life is over. Like let's cut that out.
No, but
There's a lot of
remember, this
people.
was literally about how it
No,
was in that
I know with
time.
that
So
particular show,
that
but
made
I've seen
sense.
newer shows and series still
Yeah.
come up use that trope, and I'm like, it's really not that
But
serious
what we've noticed with Hollywood
anymore
is that they have stereotypes that they run with and they never change or evolve from them. They're still using the same
at all.
stereotypical tropes from way back when TV just started. So they haven't really evolved as much as they say they have. But anyway, we move.
But anyway, we move. But yeah, no longer death sentence. I've met a lot of people. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, I got some STI." Da, 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 da. Like I'm not the quickest. I'm not the quickest to judge. Even if you're
Mhm.
promiscuous as a mongrel dog running the streets, like
Not the
who the fuck am I
mongrel.
to judge? Like, I mean,
That's
if
one
that's your
thing I've
lifestyle
always
and
said. Who am I to judge?
then we end up judging.
Not really.
I'm
Certain
joking.
things I don't judge people on
I'm joking.
because
I'm just. I
at the end
think
of the day, it's your life.
I think the most I'd probably judge someone for contracting like an HDR, not HDR, an SDI or an STD is probably in a case where you're partnered with someone, you went outside and cheated, caught some shit, and you give it to that person. Then I'll be
Oh
judging
no,
you
I
like,
would judge you in that
you dirty
situation.
motherfucker, you stepped
Yeah.
out and brought that shit in your
At that
in your
point, you're a
home.
bitch.
Exactly.
And not the good
But
type.
but outside of that, like I really don't care. As I said, people have
Yeah.
confided in me in the past about it. I've known people, I've seen what it's like for them, and it's
Yep.
just like it's really not that serious.
It's really, I mean, it is
There are
serious.
things. It is serious, not
But
to downplay it. It is serious,
yeah.
and it is a life altering thing. Because if you should
Yes,
catch
it
like an
is.
STD, it is life altering. But the thing is that you don't have to think, oh, I'm gonna die, and this is gonna happen, and that is gonna happen. All the treatments are there for
Just
HIV
get
to prolong your
information
life.
that you
Get
can
information, something. You catch an STI, go get that injection, go get a couple pills, something, or go take like a post exposure, but you'll be
get.
fine.
And get tested. Just always keep up to date with
Yeah,
your testing.
always get
because
tested. Like
don't be so like some people who are out there who have never been tested before, but because they're
I don't know how
scared
people be
to
doing
get
that. You be
tested.
having sex, you
Go
be
get
tested.
tested.
The only time I'll tell people not to get tested, and in today's day and age, the way things be going, even if you have a romantic partner, like try to go get tested just the same. You
'Cause you never
should be
know.
faithful. You should be faithful, but you may never know.
You
really
never
may
know.
never know. You
That's
never
true.
know. And man gibbon like dog.
Oh,
So so go find yourself a clinic if you're sexually active in any way or form so that you can protect yourself. But it's true, man gibbon like dog. Mongrel dog just a walk a tick 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 tick.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yes.
With that
And
said,
this just doesn't only go for gay people, straight people too. Because contrary to popular belief, a lot of men are bisexual and they have sex with men, and men have sex with women, and women have sex with women, and things get passed around.
Not only for the LGBTQ.
The LGBTQ community. But with that said, guys, last thing I want to
We
say is
said this with that said at least 3 times now.
right, but this is the last thing I'm gonna say.
Oh,
So there are many options out there. If it is that you're someone who's scared, like you can talk to your doctor, whosoever your doctor is, and if you live in the States or any major cities like I am, most times these things are available for free. You just need to
research.
do your research, ask people, and you can get this.
There are
get
a lot
your
of
prep,
options
get your
out
prep.
there.
A lot of options out there. It's just something that we have to do to protect our sexual health.
Absolutely. All right. So let's move on to our next segment. This week, what do you have to talk about this week? Are you watching anything specifically?
Not much.
So I'm watching this thing called Kaiju number 8. You should watch Kaiju number 8.
It's like a cross between My Hero, Fire Force.
I was thinking the
tropes,
same thing.
There's tropes and remnants that are similar to other new gen animes that I've watched.
Yeah. But I like it. And it also reminds me a lot of Parasite. You remember Parasite? But the only thing, this took over his entire body.
But even how this first few episodes are going with this thing possessed him, and then they're in this exam that's very My Hero Academia. You never had no powers, he suddenly got powers, he's forced into an exam.
Soul Eater as well.
So it's like a fusion of,
But I think it's one of them that's going to be good. From what I've seen.
Yeah, they're heavily promoting it too.
Yeah, for the last 2 episodes, the 2 episodes that are out now, I watched them and I'm excited for the next one. Which came out today, which I'm going to be watching it after we end this. I'm going to go watch it. So I'm excited for that. Shut up.
But also, American Horror Story, Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy. That was a shit
show.
Allegedly
this is from a book.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's a problem with the adaptation, if it's a problem with how the storytelling was done in the book. It's just like none of this.
Well, it's actually from 2 books. It's from 2 books. It's from actually the book called Delicate. From what I was reading, it was literally about women and their experiences during miscarriages and stuff like that. But then the horror part of it came out with the other book called Rosemary's Baby. So I don't know if it's them not blending the 2 genres, the 2 books together well, but this season
it doesn't matter. It doesn't sound like or seem like a book that I'll actually watch either way. It's what should I say? I kept saying the storytelling, it just took too long. Like get to the point. It's
and this is not a hate on Kim Train, but she did not need to be in this. I get the hype.
People are saying that she did well.
She did not do well.
That's what the streets are saying on Twitter.
They are used to things being mediocre. So they ran with it. This she did not do. Because listen, that last episode, when all the actors, when all the women were just going around her and just saying like one line at a time, they all ate her up with they had one line, each of them. And she had this whole monologue, and it was literally just Kim standing there talking. There was no emotions, nothing whatsoever. Meanwhile, all the actors around, they are acting their asses off. What was the point?
All of them are like actual trained actress,
They all are.
I think
they all are.
My thing is that he needs to, because he's a very good
producer,
series writer, or whatever, producer, whatever. He needs to take a time out and sit about the next one, because the last, I don't know, since 1984, even though 1984 wasn't that bad per se, it's just that most of the seasons after that, they've been very, I don't know. And the one good gem that he had with Red Tide, he didn't finish that properly because it was the split it was a double feature.
Yeah, that was a double feature one as well.
If he had experience, if he had expanded on that story as to doing that alien bullshit. Which the alien thing wasn't bad either. You know? I just feel like if those were seasons by themselves, where everything was fully fleshed out, it would have been two great seasons. But cutting them down to 5, 6 episodes, I don't remember how much rushed and crammed everything. So it's just like it wasn't that enjoyable.
Yeah, and then back to this one. Why are we on episode 7 and we still don't know what's going on?
I hate that
sense.
series has, and I blame this all on Netflix, to be honest, because everything is crammed into 8 episodes, 8 to 10 episodes,
so that they're bingeable.
And then it takes you 5 years to get these 8 to 10 episodes, and then it's like the story doesn't progress until like episode 6 or episode 7. So most of the episodes between 1 and 2 just feels like filler. And I'm just like, what happened to making 24, 22 episode seasons that were dropped every year?
But I remember even with this one, as you said that we had a discussion, I think it was episode 7, we were saying like how episode
that
7
episode
started.
Should have been the pilot.
That should have been episode 1.
And how the season ended should have been like the mid-season climax, like that explained everything, something. And then like we see more things happen after with the whole Kim Kardashian character, all of that. See her trying to maybe like try and find a ways to kill her, all of that.
And you're telling
that would have been a better season.
That a ghost came to you and told you to chant something about Hestia or whatever, and that killed this witch who has, I'm assuming she's a witch at this point. This witch who has been around since the dawn of time. And then they didn't even explain how she got her powers. What is she? Where is she from? What does she do? Did the other women die when she died? Then she took a thing and put it on. Is she now the Grand High Witch? Like, what is
right? Like so many unanswered stupid questions.
Stupid questions.
Someone said that get back Sarah Paulson, get back Ryan
Jessica Lange,
or whatever his name is, Jessica Lange.
Ryan
get
Peters,
the actors.
Sarah Paulson, even Lady Gaga did really
like get them back, like get them back and create like a good season.
Good Lord,
all these random kids.
Because even Billy Lord is such a good actress. She was literally just in the background. She was one of the what you call it, the social media girlies who did the Ashley. She was one of the Ashleys. Why would you give Billy Lord such a small role? Ugh.
Oh well. Hopefully they bounce back after the next one.
I doubt they will.
Because I really like AHS. AHS is one of them pinnacle comfort gay
somebody
shows.
Somebody sent me a clip. They're saying don't mess with the server, as in who's serving your food. But then I was oh yeah, this is from American Horror Story, Coven. It was that scene with Queenie when the guy was saying he wants his extra piece of chicken. Yeah, it was that scene. Come on, like go back to the good old days when it was good. You said from 1984. I honestly think from Apocalypse and when it started going downhill.
I mean, I liked Apocalypse, because Apocalypse tied in the whole. It tied in Murder House. It tied in Coven and another season. So actually, I like Apocalypse. Roanoke, I think that was the scariest season for me. I don't know why that season was so scary.
So scary. Season 6 dark. Was the scariest one.
I thought American Horror Story in general would have been scary because I started watching it like a little bit later. But watching it, none of it was scary until it got to that season. And I'm like, what the hell? This old barn and these people killing and the guts and that one was scary.
Yeah, that one was one of the scary ones. Not even 4 was Freak Show wasn't as creepy as
Roanoke.
That one.
That shit
Freak Show was creepy.
Yeah.
But all right.
But anyways,
anything else you're watching?
No, let's end it right here. You talk too much.
Okay. Says the person who loves to chat. Wow.
Talk to people who I like, okay? But anyway.
Well, I guess I'm loved because you talk to me every week. So
don't flatter yourself too much now.
I don't have to. The proof is in the pudding. What is this? Episode 18? Okay.
This can be your last.
We'll see. If we don't
'Cause
come
I'm
back,
petty
guys,
Betty.
you
I'm
know
petty
why.
Betty, petty label.
If we don't return next week, guys, you know why. And it wasn't my fault. It was someone trying to prove a point and being a petty bitch.
Which I am.
And not one of the good ones. See what I did there? That's a callback. Anyway.
But anyways.
And with that, guys, we're going to end this episode right here. It has been another week of Shiggles with that guy Rickster.
This was Darren, guys.
And we'll hopefully catch you in the next one.
No, hopefully. Bye, guys.